Thank you, Nick, for that really generous intro. Really appreciate it. But yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Asada Mann. For those of you who I don't know, it's really great to have you join us here for our state convention. I hope to get to know you better. And it's really exciting to see some familiar faces as well. I'm the chair of the Progressive Democrats of New Jersey. And I won't talk very long. For our next segment, I actually have the distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, who is Jersey City Ward F Councilman Frank Educational Gilmore. A little bit about Councilman Gilmore. As a lifelong resident of Jersey City, he attended the city's local schools before earning a degree from Rutgers University. Prior to being elected to the Jersey City Municipal Council, Frank became a very popular recreation coach and youth mentor. He's well known throughout Ward F for his volunteer work and successful opening of the educational Gilmore Community Learning Center. Because of his center and community work, he's received local and national media attention for being a positive neighborhood resource. Apparently he's been on Ellen, I heard. The center's operational focus is to motivate individuals toward academic excellence, career planning, and social responsibility. We're really excited to have Councilman Gilmore here to share his story and just talk a little bit more about what's at stake in 2023, some of the issues that are going to really be driving politics, and also share his insight on what he thinks progressives can be doing and should be doing to build community power. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Councilman Gilmore. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. Oh, can you see me? Oh, there you go. I don't got the fancy background like you guys have with the banner up. But nonetheless, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. My name is Frank Educational Gilmore, Councilman of Ward F. Again, thank you for having me. It is truly an honor to be here with you, ladies and gentlemen, on this good Sunday afternoon. Just a little bit about me. Nothing in my background spoke to politics, right? I was just someone who was just concerned about the equity going on in Jersey City. I was just someone concerned about advocating for demographics who other people wouldn't advocate for or who other people would overlook. So it led me to my community activism to speak up on the behalf of individuals who didn't have voices and speak up on the behalf of individuals who had voices, but they couldn't necessarily say anything because they would be retaliated against. It's something that I take very seriously. I know a lot of people in my path, because I used to work for the city before I was elected, and people was like, yo, why do you continue to, put yourself in harm's way? You can lose your job. And my whole position and my standpoint has always been, if I'm advocating for the right thing and I'm punished for that, or if something comes to my doorstep because of that, then I'm willing to live with the consequences behind that, because I'm of the opinion that if one have the influence and or platform to advocate for disadvantaged communities and they don't do it, then they essentially are a part of the problem. So again, nothing in my background really spoke towards politics. So during my community advocacy and things of that nature, I began to attend council meetings because I really wanted to understand, one, why our elected leadership treated the people the way they did. And I really wanted to understand the whole nuance of the political arena. So I started to attend council meetings, meeting after meeting. And then I came to the conclusion, I was like, well, I think that our elected leadership got the wrong memo. I think they're misinterpreting what they're supposed to be doing as our elected officials. I think the real final draw for me, where I said I have to run to do something, is when they revamped or reconstructed the Department of Recreation. And when they did this, they essentially moved I think it was 15 or 17 people, all whom were either Black or African American. And I think it was maybe one white brother. And for me, that was the final draw, because I just felt like individuals who gave their blood, sweat, and tears to this city for the last 15, 20, 25 years, they were purposely being targeted because of their political view, because of their connections. And I just was like, that's just wrong. And people were telling me, they was like, well, Mr. Gilmore, nothing is going to happen to you. And I was like, well, I can't sit down and sit back and be quiet, and I see an injustice taking place right in front of my face. So I said, I started to galvanize more. From only this time, now that I'm galvanizing from a political perspective. And there is a difference in, how you galvanize people depending on a cause. Again, when you're coming from the community activism world, you're essentially galvanizing people to stand up for a cause. When you're trying to galvanize people in a political arena, you want them to galvanize for a cause as well, but only now it's more implementation of strategy. This is not just putting out a post or a press release. This is really being strategic about identifying pockets of individuals, identifying influential individuals, and collaborating with like-minded individuals. This is what I believe really got me over the hump in the election, was my ability to network with others who had common issues. So many times when we're looking to see who we're going to collaborate with, people, I can't collaborate with them because they don't believe this and I believe this. I focused on similarities. I didn't focus on what me and anyone had difference. I focused on similarities, and thus we bridge relationships that way. So we begin to galvanize people and collecting data and just going out and advocating for people. I was out there advocating for people just because I felt like an injustice was taking place, despite if they were black, white, pink, purple, anything. I just said that this is unjust. I have the platform to use, so I'm going to help them. Another thing I believe which really got me over the hump is this is when Facebook Live first added that feature. I started a podcast called The Community Show, and I would talk about all of the issues that people wanted to stay away from, the issues that people just didn't want to talk about. And we would talk about those issues, and we would try to come up with strategic solutions. Now, there have been some solutions that we didn't deliver on, right? There's been some things that we couldn't necessarily do what we wanted to do, but nonetheless, the attention to detail was there. And then people seeing, whoa, he's advocating like we would want to see in our elected leadership. So as people begin to collaborate and come on board, that's when we got the ball rolling. So I say to the progressives, right, it's a huge challenge, but it's doable. It's doable. You're going to be in a dogfight because we don't have the necessary resources from a connection perspective. We don't have the necessary resources from a financial perspective. And we don't have the necessary resources from a political perspective, right? But what we have to bank on is being caught up doing the work. That's where you make your money at, by doing the work. And doing the work does not mean you work Monday, Tuesday, and you take off the rest of the week. Doing the work means we do the work every single day. And that's how we galvanize people, right? We go to these different communities who's having different issues, and we find similarities. How do we find similarities? Because I'm telling you now, the powers that be are going to use divisive mechanisms to keep us separated. They know and understand that the power is in the unification of the people. So they need to interrupt that pipeline. They don't want to see it come to fruition. They have to interrupt that. So what we have to do is constantly be boots on the ground. And you almost have to create another network. What is creating another network? Registering as much new voters as possible. Going into communication with people who have been registered voters, but didn't necessarily participate. They haven't been voting. They haven't been active, right? And engaging those people. The establishment is going to bring their numbers to the table every single time, right? So that was something that I looked at going over my election campaign, right? I went back and I looked at data of all of the winners from the last 4 election cycles. And shockingly, the candidate that the HCDO or the establishment supported had nearly the same amount of voters. So it's the same pocket of people. So I said, all right, I know that the establishment in Ward F, they only can bring about 18 to 2,500 voters. That's all they can bring, right? So we begin to galvanize and situate people in different pockets and talk to influential people. And that's what we have to continuously do, right? People love to see individuals lending a helping hand, even when it's not election time, right? That is one of my biggest pet peeves. When we see people, it's like, where have you been? What have you been doing, right? And it doesn't have to be community work, right? But you have to have some form of service in there, whether it's volunteering, whether it's being a teacher, whether it's being an advocate. It just have to have some form of services in your line of work, because this work is hard. This work is hard. A lot of times you're going to feel overwhelmed because you're going to have to work twice as hard to get half of what the establishment got. Right? So if I can convey any message, the first message will be pay attention to details. The second message will be enroll, register, data, right? And then and reinforce it. Constantly reinforcing that message that, listen, this is for the people, by the people. Constantly reinforcing that message, constantly being on the forefront of issues that's facing our communities. Because right now, hot topics in the community are centered around affordability. If you've looked at Jersey City in the last, let's say, about 7 to 10 years, you've seen how drastic price or the cost of living have risen astronomically. People can't even afford to live here anymore, right? And they want to see people advocating for them, people fighting for them, and most importantly, people helping them fight, showing them how to fight. So affordable housing or affordability in itself is a huge issue. Violence on the South Side, public safety, it's always a huge issue, right? So those are the two cornerstone things I worked on. And again, that paying attention to detail led me to work on that, because you see the dire need for public safety and affordability in the jurisdiction in which I serve. So, that's what my advice will be to you, ladies and gentlemen, with respect to that. And I mean, you've been doing a hell of a job thus far with regards to advocating and getting out there and, making your name known. So it's not like you're not that far behind. I'll tell you that much. You're not that far behind. Oh, okay. No, okay. Well, I can't see myself.
Oh, we can see
Oh,
you.
there I go. There
Do
we
you
go.
have anything else to add?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. I guess if you guys want to do some Q&As, or y'all run, I'm participating.
All right, thank you so much, Councilman. I mean, that was really insightful, lots of lessons in there for us all to take in. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, hearing none. No, someone hand is up. I see some hands.
We got a hand. Charlie, go ahead.
Yes, hello, Councilman. Wanted to ask your opinion on ward-based elections. You mentioned you were able to, rise to power by focusing on your ward and becoming well-known there. But I also know that in the rewarding process, there was a bit of a backlash. And if you could talk a little bit about that and what your thoughts are on how the 6-ward system is serving Jersey City.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people, when they look at the redistricting, they said that map is the Gilmore effect. But the reality is, right, in all honesty, in a weird way, this is going to backfire off on the establishment by cutting Ward F the way they did. And the reason why I said that is because what they've tried to do was essentially try to diminish my influence. And by doing that, they've actually increased it. So now they've gave me, it's kind of like the incident they did with the flyer, right? With the smear campaign, right? They gave me access to a group of individuals that I wouldn't otherwise know. I wouldn't have known them. But they've given me that access to that group of people. So the redistricting, I mean, it is what it is. And that's part of being a part of the establishment, right? They have the resources, they have the positions to make these decisions on the behalf of everybody in the interest of democracy, right? But, you know, you see countless occasions where they use it to their benefit. You know, so, I mean, like I said, the redistricting, it is what it is, you know, and I'm just going to grow from this. I'm just going to grow from this. I'm not going to, you know, be bitter and say I'm not representing this part and do that. No, you just work. You just do the work. And that's the problem, right? I don't have a problem working and I don't have a problem doing the work. So when they try to do that, it's like, oh, he's not going to be able to serve this demographic because he's going to be too much focused on here and all this other stuff. I'll just do the work, you know, and again, the same formula. It doesn't matter the end of it. It's the same formula. Paying attention to details, speaking to the issues, and finding solutions for the issue.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have another question in the chat from Zaire, which says, how can school board members use their platform to advocate for school policy reform without crossing the line?
Yeah, see, that's the hard part of being a school board member. That's a little more, it's a little more intricate than being a counsel and being an advocate. But if you're already on the school board, I guess it's a matter of working with your colleagues, and it's hard. It's not as easy as it sounds. It's hard because individuals are essentially placed in position, and they have to listen to the power structure. So when you're independent or you're outside of the fray of the establishment, it becomes drastically hard. So I would say, you know, talk to your colleagues, and it's a matter of how you spin things to see it come to fruition. But that's a challenge. It's not as easy as it sounds.
All right, and quick follow-up on that. If you're already on the board, does that process look different?
Yeah, no, the process is the same. The process is the same. It's easier on a board because you're more likely to have access to other board members by the mere fact of your position, right? But the process is the process. It's still the same.
All right, and then last question, John, you have your hand up?
Oh yeah, thanks, Councilman, for sharing. I was wondering, when you run, were you able to get the line and put your opinion on the line?
Well, the line. You want my honest opinion?
Yes, please.
The line is a dictatorship, man. The problem with running on the line, like there's benefits, and then there's pros and then there's cons, right? And essentially the pros and cons is going to reside within that candidate's core beliefs, right? So it's the good thing about running on the line is you don't have to work as hard. You don't have to work as hard campaign. You don't have to work as hard raising money. You don't have to work as hard going to events and being creative and being solution oriented, right? But the bad thing about being on the line is once you get in, you really have no independence. I've literally seen people talk about how something go against their belief and voted on it. Right? So that's the problem. That's the problem in a nutshell with the line, right? It doesn't allow individuals to be individuals. And that's the problem in a nutshell with the line.
All right. Thank you so much, Councilman. And as everyone here knows, obviously P&J is also really opposed to the line, and we've been working
Yes.
to get rid of that really undemocratic system. We're the only state in the country who does it like this, who does it as bad as we do.
Oh my goodness.
We'll keep working at that. But yeah, thank you, Councilman, so much. We really appreciate your time here today. We know you're super busy, especially on a Sunday. And your insight was
my son keeps scratching the door right now. I said I'll be in here for 5 minutes.
It's been 15 too long.
Yeah. But again, man, just kudos to the movement. And like I said, continue to work. There's going to be times where you're going to feel like you're not making no leeway. But I assure you, the fight is really in the journey, right? The reward is in the journey.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll thank Councilman Gilmore for joining us. I have to reiterate, he really embodies the type of accountable, transparent, and just community-oriented, focused leader that PD&J is looking to empower and, encourage folks to become and run for these elected official positions. We know that the problems our community face are larger than any single one of us as individuals, and he's demonstrated and shared with us a little bit today how we can come together to build our communities, build power in our communities, and really just work towards a future that works for the majority of people, right? Especially folks who have historically been left behind and shut out from the decision-making, powers in our world. We know we have to build a larger base of progressives, leftists, and just people who share values in general. We have to shock that system, shock the system that's upheld by elites and show them that at the end of the day, the people will always prevail, win, and that's just inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that said, I have the